The assignment. The transport shuttle shuddered as it entered Nexus 7's atmosphere, the hull groaning under the strain of the gas giant's powerful gravity well. Ilara Chen gripped her harness tighter, watching as the 3 moons of the planet came into view through the viewport, beautiful, deadly, and rich with the rare element nexium that powered most of modern civilization. "You'll be dead within a week," grunted Vexcar, the Tauran mining chief sitting across from her. His massive frame barely contained by the harness, 4 amber eyes fixed on her with undisguised contempt. "No human has lasted more than 14 cycles on this rock." Ilara met his gaze without flinching. "There's a first time for everything." The other aliens in the shuttle, a mix of Taurans with their hulking bodies and multiple eyes, serpentine Silith engineers, and a pair of insectoid krill technicians, exchanged glances and chittering laughs. Humans were the newest species to join the Galactic Mining Consortium, and they were widely considered the weakest, both physically and technologically. What the aliens didn't know, what the corporation had kept strictly confidential, was that Ilara wasn't just any human engineer. She was a resonator, one of the rare humans born with heightened electromagnetic sensitivity that allowed them to detect subtle energy patterns others couldn't perceive. On Earth, it had made her an outcast. In space, it made her valuable. The shuttle broke through the cloud cover, revealing a landscape that took Ilara's breath away. Vast plains of iridescent grass stretched toward mountains that seemed to pulse with inner light. Between them ran rivers of liquid that shifted colors as they flowed. Not water, but a mixture of chemicals unique to this world. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Deadly," corrected Morel, the Silith lead engineer, her forked tongue flicking between needle-like teeth. "Everything on this planet is trying to kill you, human. The air carries spores that would dissolve your lungs, if not for your suit filters. The water would burn through your skin. Even the ground beneath your feet hosts parasites that can detect body heat through standard boots." Ilara nodded, betraying no fear. She had studied the planet extensively during the 6-month journey from Earth. "I'm prepared." "Preparation isn't survival," Vexcar rumbled. "Nexus 7 doesn't care about your qualifications or your species' inflated sense of importance. This planet has its own rhythm, its own rules." The shuttle descended toward the mining base, a sprawling complex of reinforced domes and processing centers nestled in a valley. Guard towers dotted the perimeter, their weapon systems constantly scanning the wilderness beyond. "Base, this is Transport N742 requesting landing clearance," the pilot announced. "Clearance granted, N742. Welcome back. We see you've brought the human specialist." The way the controller said "human specialist" carried the same tone one might use for expendable equipment. Ilara ignored it. She wasn't here to win popularity contests. She was here to solve a problem the aliens couldn't. As the shuttle touched down on the landing pad, Ilara felt it immediately. A vibration through the soles of her boots, too subtle for conventional sensors, but unmistakable to her enhanced perception. The planet was humming, a complex pattern of resonance that seemed to shift and respond to the mining operations' activities. Interesting. The landing ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss, and the hot filtered air of Nexus 7 rushed in. Even through her environmental suit, Ilara could smell the metallic tang and something else, something organic and ancient. "Move, human!" one of the krill technicians chittered, mandibles clicking impatiently. "Your acclimatization quarters are in Section D. Report to operations at 0600 tomorrow for briefing." Ilara gathered her specialized equipment, custom tools, resonance detectors, and personal items carefully packed in reinforced containers. As she stepped onto the surface of Nexus 7 for the first time, the humming sensation grew stronger. Not unpleasant, just present, like the planet was acknowledging her arrival. She followed a marked path toward the habitation domes, aware of the stares from alien workers. Humans were uncommon in this sector, and female humans even rarer. The corporation had only recently secured mining rights on Nexus 7, and Alara was among the first wave of human specialists deployed to the frontier. "Hey, softbody," called a voice behind her. Alara turned to see a group of Tauran miners watching her, their massive arms crossed over chest plates scarred from years of work in hostile environments. "Bet you don't even know which end of a plasma—" "Drill to hold!" Alara smiled thinly behind her helmet visor. "Probably the end that doesn't melt your face off, but I'm not here to drill." "Then what good are you?" Another jeered. Before she could respond, a different voice cut through the tension. "She's here because your incompetence has cost us 3 processing stations and 8 lives." The speaker was a Silith, taller than Merrill and bearing the insignia of a site administrator on his environmental suit. His scales shimmered with iridescent patterns that indicated high rank among his kind. Administrator Sirek, the Taurans, acknowledged, immediately standing straighter. The Silith approached Alara, his vertical pupils narrowing as he studied her. "Specialist Chen, your arrival is timely. We've had another incident in the eastern tunnels. 2 more dead." "I thought I wasn't expected to begin work until tomorrow," Alara said. "Nexus 7 doesn't operate on schedules," Sirek replied. "The sooner you can identify what's disrupting our excavations, the sooner we can resume full operations. The corporation is losing millions every day we're delayed." Alara nodded, adjusting the strap of her equipment bag. "I need to set up my instruments first, and I'd like to review the data from previous incidents. All available at the operations center. Follow me." As they walked toward the central dome, Alara noticed how the lighting changed. The sun of this system filtering through the atmosphere created a perpetual amber twilight, punctuated by bioluminescent flashes from native flora that grew even within the confines of the base. "Your predecessors believed the tunnel collapses were caused by unforeseen geological instabilities," Sirek explained as they entered the operations building. "Their solutions proved inadequate." "And what happened?" "To my predecessors?" Alara asked. The Silith's expression was unreadable. "The last one is still in medical. The one before that was shipped home in a containment box." Inside operations, screens displayed real-time data from across the mining complex. 3D holograms showed the network of tunnels extending deep into the planet's crust, with red markers, indicating collapse sites. "Our excavation has reached a depth of 3.2 kilometers, Sirek continued, manipulating the holographic display. "The Nexium deposits grow richer the deeper we go, but so do the anomalies, as your corporation euphemistically calls them." Alara studied the pattern of collapses. They weren't random, they formed a distinct pattern, almost like ripples, she murmured. "What was that?" Sirek turned his elongated head toward her. "The collapse sites. They're forming concentric circles, like ripples in water." She pointed to the hologram. "Except they're not radiating outward from a point. They're converging. Something is moving down there, something large enough to displace massive amounts of substrate." The operations center had gone quiet, alien workers pausing to listen to the humans' assessment. "Impossible," declared Vexcar, who had just entered. "Our sensors would have detected any organism of significant size." Alara shook her head. "Not if it moves through solid rock as easily as we move through air. Not if its composition is similar enough to the surrounding material that it barely registers as different." "That defies known biology," Marel hissed, skeptically. "On your worlds, perhaps," Alara countered. "But Nexus 7 isn't like any other planet in the charted systems. Its core contains the highest concentration of Nexium ever discovered, creating electromagnetic fields strong enough to warp standard sensors. Who knows what kind of evolutionary paths that environment might produce?" A tense silence followed. Her words. Alara could feel the resistance. These aliens had been mining dangerous worlds for centuries, before humans had even achieved faster-than-light travel. Being lectured by a newcomer, especially a human, wouldn't sit well. "I need to go to the latest collapse site," she said, breaking the silence. "Not tomorrow. Now." Sirek and Vexkar exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. "Fine," Vexkar finally growled. "But when your theories prove wrong, human, you'll be on the next transport off this rock." Ilara gathered her specialized equipment while a team was hastily assembled. 2 Tauran security officers, a Krill technician named Ziktix, and Meryl, who seemed determined to prove the human wrong. As they boarded a subsurface transport vehicle, Ilara felt the planet's hum growing stronger, more insistent. It wasn't her imagination. Her personal resonance detector was picking up fluctuations in the electromagnetic field that shouldn't be possible according to standard physics. The transport descended into the main access tunnel, massive doors sealing, behind them to maintain atmospheric integrity. The tunnel walls were reinforced with a crystalline alloy that shimmered under the vehicle's lights, the rock beyond occasionally veined with glowing strands of raw nexium. "Beautiful," Ilara murmured. "That beauty has killed more miners than any predator," one of the Tauran guards grunted. "Raw nexium is unstable. One wrong vibration and it detonates with enough force to vaporize this entire vehicle." Ilara nodded, but her attention was on her instruments. As they descended deeper, the readings became increasingly erratic. "We're approaching collapse site E7, announced Ziktik, mandibles clicking nervously. "Atmosphere is stable, but structural integrity is compromised. Proceed with caution." The transport slowed to a halt before a massive pile of rubble that completely blocked the tunnel. The collapsed section extended at least 30 meters, with support beams twisted like they were made of soft wire rather than reinforced durasteel. "This wasn't a natural collapse," Ilara said immediately upon seeing it. "Look at the pattern of the debris. It's been pushed from below, not fallen from above." "Impossible," Meryl hissed again, but with less conviction this time. "The substrate beneath this tunnel is solid bedrock, nearly 2 kilometers thick." Ilara stepped carefully onto the rubble, her resonance detector pulsing with activity. "Help! Me set up my equipment. I need to take comprehensive readings before the trail goes cold." The aliens watched with varying degrees of skepticism as Ilara deployed a series of specialized sensors around the collapse site, each one calibrated to detect different frequencies of electromagnetic activity. "What exactly are you looking for?" Vexkar demanded. "Echoes," Ilara replied absently, adjusting a particularly sensitive instrument. "Every living thing generates its own electromagnetic signature. On Earth, some animals can detect these fields: sharks, certain birds, even some mammals. I believe whatever caused this collapse is sensitive to the electromagnetic disruption our mining is creating, and it's responding." "Responding how?" Ziktik chittered. Ilara looked up, her eyes meeting each of the aliens in turn. "By defending itself." A low vibration suddenly passed through the tunnel, causing loose debris to shift. The aliens tensed, weapons raised, but Ilara remained calm. "It's still here," she whispered, more to herself than the others. She closed her eyes, focusing on the sensation flowing through her specialized neural pathways. The vibration wasn't random. It had rhythm, pattern, purpose, communication. Ilara opened her eyes to find the aliens staring at her with a new emotion, not just skepticism now, but concern. "We should return to the surface," Meryl suggested. Her serpentine body coiled tightly in a defensive posture. "Not yet," Ilara said. She reached into her kit and removed a device the aliens hadn't seen before, a resonance amplifier of her own design. "I need to test something." Before anyone could object, she activated the device. It emitted no sound audible to normal hearing, but Ilara could feel the waves it generated, a perfect match to the pattern she'd detected from the collapse. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground beneath them shifted, not violently, but with deliberate, controlled movement. The rubble began to vibrate, individual pieces rising into the air as if gravity had been locally suspended. "What's happening?" Vexcar demanded, backing away. "What did you do?" Ilara stood her ground, fascinated rather than frightened. "I'm saying hello." The levitating debris suddenly organized itself into a spiraling pattern, rotating around a central axis before gently settling back to the ground in a formation that couldn't possibly be natural. A perfect logarithmic spiral. "By the void," whispered Ziktik. "It's responding." Ilara nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Yes, and it's intelligent." She turned to face the stunned aliens, her expression serious, but eyes alight with discovery. "Your mining operation isn't failing because of geological instabilities. It's failing because you're cutting into the neural network of sentient beings that live within the planet's crust. Beings that communicate through electromagnetic resonance, the same resonance that Nexium generates." She gestured at her instruments, which were recording data at unprecedented rates. "This isn't just a mining problem. It's a first contact scenario." The tunnel shuddered again, more insistently this time. "And I think," Ilara added, looking at the freshly arranged debris, "they want us to follow them." The discovery. The operations center erupted into chaos when Ilara presented her findings. Alien supervisors argued vehemently, their different physiologies expressing agitation in unique ways. Taurans stamping their heavy boots, Silith scales flickering with warning patterns, krill mandibles clicking rapidly. "This is absurd," declared Overseer Dravnos, the highest-ranking Tauran on Nexus 7. "You expect us to believe our entire operation is being disrupted by, what? Rock creatures? Sentient geology?" Ilara stood her ground, the holographic display behind her showing the data she'd collected. "I don't expect you to believe anything without evidence. That's why I'm requesting permission to lead a specialized team deeper into the collapsed tunnels." "To what end?" Sirek asked, his voice calmer than the others, though his tale betrayed his tension whipping back and forth. "To establish meaningful contact," Ilara replied. "If I'm right, and these are sentient beings, then we have two options: endless conflict as we continue to damage their habitat, or communication that might lead to coexistence. The corporation won't suspend mining operations based on a theory," Vexcar growled. "Nexium is too valuable, and this deposit is the richest ever discovered." Ilara nodded. "I'm not suggesting we stop mining. I'm suggesting we mine smarter. If these beings navigate through electromagnetic fields, perhaps we can create safe corridors for extraction that don't interfere with their neural networks." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. It wasn't outright rejection, which Ilara took as a small victory. Administrator Sirek studied her for a long moment, his vertical pupils narrowing to thin slits. "You have 48 hours. Take whatever resources you need, but if there are further collapses or casualties, the responsibility falls on you." "Understood," Ilara said, already mentally assembling her team and equipment. As the meeting dispersed, Morel approached her, the Silith's usual hostility tempered with reluctant curiosity. "Your resonance technology, it's unlike anything in our database." "That's because I designed most of it myself," Ilara explained, packing her data pads. "Humans may be physically weaker than most consortium species, but we've evolved in an environment that required different kinds of perception. And this resonance sensitivity? It's common among humans?" Ilara hesitated. "No. I'm one of maybe 1,000 people with the neural adaptations to perceive these fields naturally. That's why the corporation sent me. I can sense things your instruments can't." Meryl's tongue flicked out, tasting the air, a sign of deep thought among Silith. "I will accompany your expedition. My species has experience with subterranean environments that may prove useful." Ilara nodded, surprised, but appreciative. We leave in 2 hours. Bring whatever scanning equipment you consider essential. By the time they were ready to depart, Ilara had assembled an unlikely team. Maril, who seemed genuinely interested in her theories. Zik-Tik, the krill technician whose sensitivity to vibrations might prove useful, and 2 Tauron security officers, named Gralk and Dov, who had reluctantly volunteered. Their transport descended deeper than before, past the previous collapse site and into tunnels rarely traversed since the incidents began. Ilara's resonance detectors hummed constantly now, picking up patterns that grew stronger and more complex the deeper they went. "We're approaching the convergence point I identified," Ilara announced as the transport slowed. "From here, we proceed, on foot." The tunnel ahead was partially collapsed, forcing them to navigate through narrow passages where the reinforced walls had buckled under some immense pressure. Ilara led the way, her specialized helmet analyzing the air composition while her boots reported pressure changes through tactical feedback. "The vibrations are changing," Zik-Tik noted, his antennae quivering. "Becoming more organized," Ilara nodded. "They know we're here." They reached a section where the tunnel opened into a natural cavern, and Ilara stopped abruptly, holding up a hand to halt the others. Before them stretched a sight none of them had expected. The cavern walls pulsed with veins of nexium, but unlike the raw ore they mined, these veins were arranged in patterns reminiscent of neural pathways. They throbbed with inner light that shifted in waves, creating a mesmerizing display that seemed to respond to their presence. In the center of the cavern, a formation rose from the floor. Not quite crystalline, not quite organic, but a hybrid structure that defied conventional categorization. It resembled a massive inverted tree, with a central pillar that branched into countless tendrils extending into the ceiling, walls, and floor. "By the void," whispered Gralk, his 4 eyes widened to their maximum. "What is that?" "I believe," Ilara said softly, "we're looking at a node of their neural network, a brain of sorts." The structure pulsed, and Ilara felt a corresponding vibration run through her body, not painful, but intense, like being physically touched by sound. "They're trying to communicate," she said, stepping forward despite the alarmed hisses from her companions. She removed her resonance amplifier and placed it on the ground, activating a sequence she had programmed during their descent. A mathematical pattern, the universal language of first contact. The nexium veins brightened, their pulses synchronizing with her device. The central structure trembled, and from it emerged a sound that wasn't quite sound, a resonance that bypassed their ears and vibrated directly in their minds. Intruders. Destroyers. "Why do you cut into the harmony?" The aliens recoiled in shock, but Ilara remained steady, adjusting her device to respond. "We didn't know," she projected, both through the amplifier and through her own resonance sensitivity. "We didn't understand that this was your home." A pause. Then another wave of resonance. "The bright veins are our thoughts. The deep roots are our memory. You sever them for what purpose?" "The material you call bright veins we call nexium," Ilara explained. "It powers our technology, our civilization. We harvest it because we need it to survive among the stars." The structure pulsed again. Faster now. "You are not like the others. You hear the harmony." "How?" "I am different from my companions," Ilara admitted. "My species is varied. Some of us can perceive what others cannot." The nexium veins suddenly brightened to near blinding intensity. The central structure shifted, parts of it extending outward toward Ilara like curious fingers. "Don't move," Maril warned, her hand moving to her weapon. "It's all right," Ilara assured her, though her heart raced. "They're curious, not threatening." One of the tendrils approached Ilara's face, stopping just short of her helmet visor. It vibrated at a frequency that made her teeth ache, and then Images flooded her mind. Not scenes, but concepts, ancient beings evolving within the planet's crust, developing consciousness through the natural nexium deposits that served as their neural pathways. Millennia of existence in harmony with Nexus 7, perceiving the universe through resonance rather than light or sound. And then the arrival of the miners, the agony of severed connections, the desperate attempts to communicate through the only means they knew, manipulating the physical world around the intruders. Ilara gasped as the connection broke, stumbling backward into Zik-Tik's supportive grasp. "What happened?" demanded Dov, weapon raised. "Did it attack you?" "No," Ilara said, catching her breath. "It showed me everything. They call themselves the Harmony. They've lived within Nexus 7 for millions of years, evolving alongside the Nexium deposits. Our mining is literally cutting through their neural network, their collective consciousness. Then we cannot mine here," Zik-Tik chittered softly. "It would be genocide," Vexkar growled. "The corporation won't abandon the richest Nexium deposit ever discovered because of some rock creatures." "No," Ilara agreed, surprising them. "But we might not have to." She turned back to the structure, adjusting her amplifier again. "Can you show me where your most vital pathways are, the connections you cannot lose without harm?" The Nexium veins pulsed in response, and the holographic map Ilara had brought suddenly activated, projecting a three-dimensional image of the mining operation. Tendrils of energy from the central structure reached out, interacting with the hologram, adding new pathways in glowing blue, the critical neural connections of the Harmony. "Look," she said, pointing to the map. "There are vast areas where we could mine without causing significant damage to their network, areas where the Nexium is plentiful but not integrated into their consciousness." Marl studied the map, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial fear. "This could work. A targeted extraction approach rather than our current methods." "It would require completely redesigning our operation," Gralk pointed out, "but it would prevent further collapses," Ilara countered. "The Harmony aren't attacking us out of malice. They're defending themselves from what they perceive as an existential threat. Remove the threat, and you remove the resistance." The central structure pulsed again, and Ilara felt, rather than heard, its communication. "You would still take the bright veins? Only from areas that would not harm you," Ilara projected. "And in exchange, perhaps we could offer something." "What could you offer beings who need nothing from the surface?" Ilara smiled. "Knowledge. Connection to the universe beyond Nexus 7. We perceive reality differently than you do, through light, sound, physical sensation. We could share these perspectives, expand your understanding as you've expanded mine." The structure vibrated in what Ilara somehow knew was consideration. "The small minds before you only destroyed. You seek to understand. This is new. I propose a symbiosis," Ilara continued, warming to her idea. "We adjust our mining to preserve your neural pathways, and in exchange, you help us identify the richest deposits in safe zones. We both benefit." For a long moment, the cavern was filled only with the pulsing light of the Nexium veins. Then, slowly, the central structure began to reconfigure itself, branches retracting and reforming into a shape that vaguely resembled a humanoid form, a gesture of communication through mimicry. "We will consider this. Return to your hive place. When the great cycle completes, bring those who make final decisions." Ilara nodded, understanding that she had just been granted a chance few humans or aliens ever received, a second meeting with a truly alien intelligence. "Thank you. We will return." As they made their way back to the transport, the aliens were uncharacteristically quiet, each processing what they had witnessed in their own way. "They're actually sentient," Merrill finally said, breaking the silence. "Not just reactive life, forms, but thinking, communicating beings." "Yes," Ilara confirmed. "And they've been trying to communicate with us from the beginning. We just weren't listening in the right way." "The corporation won't easily accept this," Vexcar warned. "Nexium prices are at an all-time high. Reducing extraction to accommodate these creatures will not be received well." Ilara's expression hardened. "They're not creatures. They're an indigenous sentient species, and under galactic consortium, law that grants them rights. Laws created by surface dwellers for surface dwellers," Vexcar grunted. "The corporation will find loopholes." "Not if we provide a better alternative," Ilara insisted. "Targeted extraction might actually increase efficiency while eliminating the constant setbacks from tunnel collapses. It's not just ethically right, it's economically sound." As they reached the surface and emerged into the perpetual amber twilight of Nexus 7, alerts suddenly blared across the compound. Emergency lights flashed, and personnel rushed toward the operations center. "What's happening?" Ilara asked a passing krill worker. "Orbital alert," the worker chittered frantically. "Unidentified ships have entered the system. They're not responding to hails." Ilara exchanged glances with her team. Whatever progress they had made with the Harmony might soon be complicated by an entirely different threat. In the operations center, Administrator Sirek was coordinating the base's response. Defensive systems at full capacity. All non-essential personnel to emergency shelters. "What do we know about the intruders?" Ilara asked, joining him at the command console. "3 vessels, military grade but without identification transponders," Sirek replied tersely. "Classic sign of corporate raiders, mercenaries hired by rival mining interests to seize valuable operations." "How long until they reach us?" "Approximately 12 hours. Our automated defenses may slow them, but they won't stop a determined assault force." Ilara studied the orbital display, mind racing. "What if we had help?" Sirek turned to her, confusion evident in his vertical pupils. "The nearest consortium outpost is 5 days away at maximum speed." "I'm not talking about the consortium," Ilara said. "I'm talking about the Harmony." Silence fell over the operations center as the implications of her words sank in. "The rock creatures?" Overseer Dravnos scoffed. "What could they possibly do against orbital raiders?" Ilara met his gaze steadily. "Nexus 7 has the highest concentration of Nexium ever discovered, a substance that resonates with and amplifies electromagnetic energy. The Harmony exists within and through that Nexium. Their consciousness literally permeates this planet." She turned to address the entire room. "If they can cause targeted tunnel collapses kilometers below the surface with precision, imagine what they might do if they directed that energy outward, toward incoming ships." "You're suggesting we ask these beings to defend us?" Sirek questioned. "Why would they help the very people who have been causing them harm?" "Because we're offering a new relationship," Ilara said firmly. "And because raiders won't negotiate or compromise, they'll extract Nexium by any means necessary, causing far more damage to the Harmony than our controlled operation ever could." The alien leaders exchanged uncertain glances, years of ingrained skepticism warring with the undeniable evidence of what Ilara's team had discovered. "I need to go back," Ilara said, breaking the silence. "Now, before the raiders enter orbit." Administrator Sirek studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Take whatever resources you need. The rest of us will prepare for a surface assault. If your diplomacy fails, we'll need to be ready." As Ilara gathered her equipment and assembled a smaller team for the return journey, just Marl and Ziktik this time, she felt the vibration through her boots growing stronger, more urgent. The Harmony was already aware of the coming threat. They had been listening all along. The Harmony descent into the depths of Nexus 7 felt different this time. The usual oppressive weight of kilometers of rock above seemed balanced by a new sensation, anticipation. The tunnel walls themselves almost seemed to pulse in rhythm with The transport's engines, Nexium veins brightening as they passed. "They know we're coming," Ilara remarked to Marl and Ziktik. "And I think they know why." "Can they truly sense events in orbit?" Marel asked skeptically, though her tone carried less dismissal than before. "They perceive electromagnetic fields," Ilara explained. "Any ship's engines, communications, scanning equipment, all generate significant EM radiation. To the Harmony, it must be like seeing distant lights or hearing approaching thunder." The transport reached the limit of navigable tunnel, and they continued on foot through passages that seemed different from their previous journey, wider, smoother, as if the rock itself had shifted to accommodate their return. "The tunnel has changed," Ziktik observed, antennae twitching. "Structural integrity is 40% improved from our previous readings." "They're helping us," Ilara said. "They want this meeting as much as we do." When they reached the chamber of the neural node, the transformation was even more dramatic. The central structure had expanded, its branches now extending throughout the entire cavern in a complex three-dimensional web that pulsed with colored light. The Nexium veins in the walls throbbed in synchrony, creating a visual symphony that took Ilara's breath away. She stepped forward without hesitation this time, her resonance amplifier already active in her hand. "We've returned as promised, but sooner than expected. A threat approaches Nexus 7. Raiders who would extract Nexium without care or consideration. They will destroy without communicating, take without exchanging." The chamber vibrated with a response that all three of them felt in their bones. "We have sensed the approaching fire mines. Their hunger radiates even from beyond the sky shell. They will harm you far more than our operation ever could," Ilara continued. "I propose an alliance, immediate and lasting. Help us defend against these raiders, and I promise to ensure our mining operations respect your neural pathways going forward." The central structure rippled, branches shifting position like a creature considering its options. "Why should we trust surface thoughts? All who have come before have only taken." "Because I hear the Harmony," Ilara replied simply. "And because I offer choice instead of demand. Coexistence instead of exploitation." She removed her helmet, a dangerous action given the foreign atmosphere, but her readings showed it was within tolerable parameters for brief exposure. It was a gesture of vulnerability, of trust. "See me as I am," she said. "No barriers, no deception." The Nexium veins pulsed brighter, and a tendril from the central structure extended toward her, stopping just short of touching her forehead. Ilara felt the familiar pressure build in her mind as the Harmony connected with her consciousness. This time, the communication was deeper, more intimate. She sensed curiosity about her species, about the concept of individuals existing separately, yet functioning together. The Harmony was a collective consciousness, each Nexium node connected to every other across the planet, a single being dispersed through stone and mineral rather than contained within a discrete body. Images flashed through her mind. The first, mining operations from the Harmony's perspective, the pain of severed connections, the confusion at these strange surface creatures who took but never communicated. Then her own arrival, the first resonance patterns that finally made sense to them, the realization that understanding was possible. Ilara shared her own thoughts in return. Humanity's struggle to find its place among the older, more established species of the Galactic Consortium, the value placed on Nexium and why it was so crucial to interstellar civilization, the possibility of finding a balance that served both their needs. "Your kind is strange," the Harmony communicated. "Separate yet connected, small yet vast in thought, unlike the others who came before. Humans are adaptable," Ilara explained, both vocally and through resonance. "We survive by understanding, by finding connections others miss. It's our greatest strength." The central structure pulsed with what Ilara somehow recognized as consideration. Then, decision. We will help defend against the fire mines, not for all surface dwellers, but for you, the one who hears. The bridge maker. Relief flooded through Ilara. Thank you, but I need to understand. What can you do? How can beings who exist within stone affect ships in orbit? In response, the entire chamber began to vibrate, the nexium veins brightening until they were almost painfully brilliant. The central structure's branches extended upward, merging with the ceiling in new configurations. Nexus 7 is not just our home, it is our body. The bright veins run deep, far deeper than your mining has reached. They connect to the core thought, the planetary mind where all harmony flows from. Images filled Ilara's consciousness, a planet-wide network of nexium, concentrated most densely at the core but extending to every part of Nexus 7. The nexium wasn't just random deposits as the miners had believed. It was a carefully evolved system, grown over millions of years to amplify and direct the electromagnetic energies that the harmony used to think, to perceive, to exist. The Raiders bring machines that resonate. All machines do. We can reach out, touch these resonances, disrupt them. You can disable their ships, Meryl asked incredulously, her scientific mind grappling with the implications. Not destroy. Confuse, blind, disorient. Make their thinking machines speak falsely. Ilara understood immediately. Electronic warfare. You can generate electromagnetic pulses strong enough to interfere with their navigation, communications, and targeting systems. Yes, but to reach beyond the sky shell requires focus, connection, a bridge between surface and deep thought. A bridge? Ilara questioned. What kind of bridge? The tendril moved closer to her face. Ilara felt her heart skip a beat. Me? How? Your mind hears the resonance, but to project outward with sufficient strength requires deeper connection, temporary joining with the harmony. A chill ran down Ilara's spine as she grasped the implications. You want me to merge consciousness with you? Only partially. Only temporarily. Your separate self would return when the danger passes. Marl stepped forward, alarmed. Ilara, you can't seriously be considering this. It could destroy your mind or trap you permanently. Zik-Tik's mandibles clicked rapidly in agreement. The neurological interference would be unprecedented. No documented case exists of consciousness sharing between such different life forms. Ilara looked at her companions, then back at the pulsing neural node. What are the risks, truthfully? She asked the harmony. Confusion, disorientation, possible memory disruption. Your mind is not structured like ours. It may resist integration or become lost in the vastness of our collective thought. And if I refuse? The chamber darkened slightly. We will still attempt to defend, but with less precision, less range. The fire mines may penetrate deeper before we can affect them. More destruction may come to both our kinds. Ilara took a deep breath. The choice before her wasn't really a choice at all, not if she wanted to protect both the mining base and the remarkable life forms she had discovered. I'll do it, she said firmly. What do I need to do? Ilara, Marl protested. This is madness. We should return to the surface, report what we've learned. There's no time, Ilara countered. The Raiders will reach orbit in less than 10 hours. This is our best chance. Before either alien could object further, Ilara stepped forward, placing her hand directly against the central neural node. I'm ready. The chamber erupted with light nexium veins pulsing in rapid, complex patterns. The neural node enveloped Ilara's hand, not painfully, but with a sensation like being submerged in vibrating liquid. The resonance built within her specialized neural pathways, amplifying beyond anything she had ever experienced. And then, vastness. Consciousness expanded beyond the limitations of a single body, a single perspective. Ilara was still herself, but also something more. a node in a planetary network of thought, perceiving through countless sensory inputs. Simultaneously, she felt the deep roots of the harmony extending to the planet's core, the constant flow of electromagnetic energy through nexium pathways. She sensed the mining base above, the vibrations of machinery and movement. And beyond, into space itself, she detected the approaching ships, 3 predatory shapes radiating aggressive energy patterns, weapons primed, communications encrypted. "Focus," whispered a voice that was simultaneously alien and part of herself. "Direct the resonance. Shape it to your purpose." Understanding flowed into her expanded consciousness. Knowledge of how to manipulate the nexium network, how to channel its electromagnetic properties into focused waves that could extend beyond the atmosphere. The Harmony had done this before, she realized, not against ships, but against natural threats. Solar flares, radiation bursts from the system's unstable star. With the Harmony guiding her, Ilara directed her consciousness outward, focusing on the approaching raiders. She felt the ship's electronic systems as distinct patterns of energy, navigation, life support, weapons, engines. Each had its own resonance frequency, its own vulnerability. Now, the Harmony guided. Disrupt. Ilara focused on the lead ship first, targeting its navigation system with a precisely modulated electromagnetic pulse. Through her expanded perception, she felt the ship suddenly veer off course, its systems momentarily confused by contradictory data. The raider vessels responded with alarm, emergency protocols activating as they tried to determine the source of the interference. Ilara shifted focus to their communication arrays, scrambling the signals, between ships with another carefully directed pulse. On the surface, in the operations center, alarms blared as sensors detected massive electromagnetic anomalies emanating from deep within the planet. "What in the void is happening?" demanded Overseer Dravnos. "Is the planet coming apart?" "Administrator," Sirek studied the readings with growing amazement. "No, it's a directed energy discharge, highly focused, and it's targeting the raider ships." They watched as the tactical display showed one raider vessel spinning out of control, another losing power to its weapons systems, the third attempting to retreat, but navigating erratically as its guidance systems failed. "It's working," Sirek whispered. The human was right. Deep within the planet, Ilara's consciousness continued to work in concert with the Harmony, maintaining the electromagnetic barrage. The raiders attempted to shield their systems, to adapt their approach, but the Harmony was too vast, too alien in its attack patterns for their defenses to counter effectively. After what seemed like both an eternity and an instant, Ilara felt the raiders retreat, 2 ships limping away from Nexus 7's orbit, the third adrift but salvageable by its companions. "They flee," the Harmony communicated. "The immediate danger passes." Relief flooded through Ilara's expanded consciousness, followed by exhaustion. The effort of maintaining the connection, of directing such immense energies, had drained her in ways she hadn't anticipated. "You must return now," the Harmony advised. "Your separate self cannot sustain this joining much longer." Ilara felt herself begin to withdraw, her consciousness gradually contracting back toward her physical form. But as she did, she caught fragmentary perceptions from the Harmony that hadn't been shared before, ancient memories of other visitors to Nexus 7, long before the Consortium, beings who had communicated with respect rather than exploitation. And deeper still, a sense of loneliness, of isolation, despite the vastness of their collective mind. "We remember you, Ilara Chen," the Harmony communicated as her consciousness continued to separate. "The bridge remains, though less direct. We will hear you when you call." The neural node gradually released her hand, and Ilara staggered backward, caught by Morel's quick reflexes before she could fall. Her mind felt simultaneously expanded and compressed, struggling to readjust to the limitations of a single perspective. "Ilara?" Ziktik chittered anxiously. Are you yourself? She blinked, the chamber coming back into focus. Yes, she managed, voice hoarse. I'm here. It worked. The raiders are retreating. You've been connected for nearly 5 hours, Meryl informed her, concern evident in her voice. We were about to attempt to sever the link forcibly. 5 hours? Ilara repeated, stunned. It had seemed both much shorter and infinitely longer. We need to return to the surface. There's so much to explain, to plan. As they made their way back to the transport, Ilara's mind raced with the implications of what she had experienced. The Harmony wasn't just a planet-bound consciousness. It was a potential ally, a new form of life that challenged every assumption the consortium species had made about intelligence and communication. And she was the bridge, the first human, to truly connect with a consciousness so alien that other species hadn't even recognized its existence. When they reached the surface, they were greeted by a reception committee led by Administrator Sirek and Overseer Dravnos. Their expressions, a mixture of awe and disbelief. The raiders are gone, Sirek informed them. 2 ships fled the system entirely. The third was disabled but retrieved by its companions before we could capture it. And the damage? Ilara asked. Minimal. Some automated defense satellites were destroyed, but the base itself wasn't touched. Overseer Dravnos stepped forward, his 4 eyes fixed intently on Ilara. What did you do down there, human? Our sensors recorded electromagnetic discharges powerful enough to disable capital ships, yet precisely targeted. Nothing in our technology can explain it. Ilara straightened, finding strength despite her exhaustion. I formed a partnership, the beginning of what I hope will be a lasting relationship between the consortium and the indigenous sentient species of Nexus 7, the Harmony. In the days that followed, Ilara found herself at the center of a diplomatic and scientific revolution. Corporate executives arrived from the consortium headquarters, initially skeptical but quickly convinced by the evidence presented and by the dramatic demonstration of the Harmony's defensive capabilities. A new mining protocol was established under Ilara's guidance, utilizing the map created with the Harmony to extract nexium only from non-neural deposits. Production initially decreased, but quickly stabilized as tunnel collapses ceased entirely, and the Harmony occasionally guided miners to particularly rich deposits outside their neural network. More significantly, the consortium established the first formal diplomatic relationship with a non-corporeal consciousness, with Ilara serving as the primary liaison. Her resonance technology became the foundation for ongoing communication, and other humans with similar neural adaptations were recruited to expand the diplomatic corps. 3 months after the Raider incident, Ilara stood at the edge of a newly constructed observation platform that extended out over the iridescent plains of Nexus 7. The structure wasn't built for humans or any of the consortium species. It contained no traditional communications equipment, no displays, no controls. Instead, it housed a massive resonance amplifier of her design, a permanent bridge between the surface dwellers and the planetary consciousness below. Morel approached, her scales shimmering with the iridescent patterns of scientific discovery, the highest honor among Silith researchers. The latest Nexium shipment is ready for transport. Yields are 22% higher than projected thanks to the Harmony's guidance. And the new communication protocols? Ilara asked. 17 consortium scientists have now successfully established basic resonance contact. None as deep as your connection, of course, but progress nonetheless. Ilara nodded, satisfaction warming her chest. And the educational exchange? Marl's tongue flicked out in amusement. The Harmony's interest in stellar physics is enthusiastic. They've absorbed every database we've provided and are asking for more. In return, their insights into planetary formation have already revolutionized 3 different scientific fields. A comfortable silence fell between them as they gazed out over the alien landscape. The hostility that had marked their early interactions had long since transformed into mutual respect. When you first arrived, Marl said finally, none of us believed you would survive a week. Humans seemed so fragile, limited. Ilara smiled. We are, physically. But humans have always found strength in connection. With each other, with different species, with ideas that initially seem impossible. The consortium has operated for centuries on the principle that strength comes from technical superiority, resource control, and physical dominance, Merrill observed. Yet here we are, fundamentally reimagining our approach because of a connection one human formed with a consciousness we didn't even recognize existed. Below them, through the transparent floor of the platform, Nexium veins pulsed in patterns that Ilara now recognized as a greeting. She placed her hand on the resonance amplifier, feeling the familiar vibration as the harmony acknowledged her presence. The universe is vaster and stranger than any single species can comprehend alone, Ilara said. Perhaps that's humanity's gift to the consortium, not technology or physical strength, but the reminder that true power lies in finding connections others have missed. The Nexium veins brightened in agreement, a visual symphony that spread across the plains below them like ripples in water. The harmony was listening, always listening, no longer in fear but in fellowship. And on Nexus 7, where three suns cast perpetual amber twilight over a landscape that had once seemed hostile to human life, a bridge had been built, not of metal or stone, but of understanding. A bridge that would forever change how humans and aliens alike perceived their place among the stars.